Okay, so now we are starting a new chapter, rotational dynamics. This is the first chapter of 12th standard. Before this chapter, it is expected that you should know certain basics of 11th standard from the circular motion. That is, what is circular motion, how it takes place, what is centripetal acceleration, centripetal and centrifugal force, difference between centripetal and centrifugal force, inertial and non-inertial frame of reference. So what is real force and pseudo force? What is center of mass? That is concept of center of mass. These are some of the basic things. Also kinematic equations. These are some of the basic things that you should know before going into this chapter. So let us revise the basics of 11th standard. That is circular motion. So circular motion is a regular motion. There are lots of examples of circular motion. Revolution of a fan. If you consider a tip of a fan, blade of a fan, that's tip is performing a circular motion. If you take washing machine, okay, that's a circular motion. It's actually basically a rotational motion. Merry-go-round is a circular motion. So there are a lot of examples of circular motion is there. Even Earth moving around the sun, revolving around the sun is a circular motion. Moon revolving around the Earth is a circular motion. Electrons revolving around nucleus, that's a circular motion. So these are the example of circular motion. Circular motion is that motion, a particle performing a motion along a circular path, along a circumference of a circle. That is called as circular motion. Okay, so let us begin with the chapter circular motion. So it is first, let us see what is uniform circular motion. A uniform circular motion is that circular motion in which the speed of the particle is constant. I'm talking about speed, not velocity. Speed of the particle is constant throughout the motion. That is called circular motion. That particle should perform a circular motion, that it should move along the circumference of the circle, and its speed should be constant. Then it is called as circular motion. Now, in circular motion, as I told, it is speed, not velocity, because velocity is not constant. Because the direction of velocity is continuously changing in circular motion. For example, if you see here, where the mouse is here, say this dark dot is a particle performing circular motion along the circumference of a circle with radius, whose radius is r. So at this point, if this particle moves from the circle, it will move tangentially to the circle, and this will be the direction at this particular point. For example, if you have a string, if you take a string and a stone is tied to the string, and if you are revolving the string, okay, so at any point, if the string breaks or if you leave the string, the stone, it moves tangentially at that particular point. So that is the direction of velocity at that particular point. So here in this case, if the particle is at this position, when my mouse is there, at this point, if the particle moves from here, so it performs a circular motion, and if this moves out of this circle, so it will move along the tangent to the circle. So in circular motion, the velocity is always tangential to the circular path, okay, and its magnitude is same throughout the motion. So in order to have a circular motion, the uniform circular motion in the acceleration must be perpendicular to the tangential velocity. Now perpendicular means what? Now this is the direction of velocity, so it should be perpendicular. So this is the perpendicular, that is r, and this is directed towards the center of the circle, that is circular path, and also it should be constant. So if these are satisfied, these conditions are satisfied, then this motion is in a uniform circular motion, and the acceleration which is directed towards the center, that acceleration is called as centripetal acceleration, and the force causing is centrifugal force. Now, before that, we'll go into some basic terminology. We'll also see some basic terminology, that is period. Okay. Now, this particle is performing a circular motion, means it's moving along the circle, along the circumference of the circle. Let this m, small m, is the mass of the particle, r is the radius of the circular path, v is the velocity or uniform speed. Okay, and let capital T be the time period for the revolution. Now, what is time period for the revolution? It is a time taken by this particle to complete one circle. Whatever the time requires to complete one circle, that is called as time period of revolution. Okay. Now, in one complete revolution, this particle travel a distance equal to circumference of a circle. And what is the circumference of a circle? We know that it is 2 pi r. Okay. And we also know that speed is equal to distance upon time. Okay. So distance is what? 2 pi r, and time is capital T. So speed then becomes 2 pi r upon t, and time period becomes 2 pi r upon v. So this is the expression for t equals to 2 pi r upon v. This is the expression for period of circular motion. Okay. The next is radius vector. Now, what is radius vector? Now, this particle m at time t, the particle is at this position, and this is the radius, and it's directed that where. So that is the position vector of the particle, and it is directed outward. Say after time t1, okay, at time t1, after some time t, at time t1, the particle is at this position, okay, and this is the radius vector. So the position vector of the particle with respect to the center, that is nothing but radius vector. It is called as radius vector, and its magnitude is equal to the radius, length of the radius of circular path, and this is always directed away from the center as shown in the figure. Okay. Now, next is angular speed. So before angular speed, we'll see what is angular displacement. Okay. Now, as we discussed earlier, at time t, the particle is at this position. After time t, the t1, say small t1, the particle is at this position, and this is the radius vector. Now, this radius vector makes an angle theta. This is the angle theta. Okay. So this theta is nothing but it is angular displacement. So similarly, as in the linear motion, speed is equal to distance upon time. So in circular motion, instead of linear speed, there is angular speed. In linear motion, it is distance or displacement. Here it is angular displacement, and time is time. Okay. So angular speed, that is denoted by small omega, is equal to angle theta upon time. Now, for the complete time period capital T, the angle made by the radius vector will be 2 pi. It's starting from this point, okay, from here to here pi by 2, then here pi, and here 3 pi by 2, and finally here 2 pi. So in this way, in one complete rotation, revolution, the particle will complete angle 2 pi. So the angular speed omega will be 2 pi upon capital T, okay, or T equals to 2 pi upon omega. That is the expression. If you divide this expression, multiply and divide both numerator and denominator by r, so it will become 2 pi r upon t. So 2 pi r upon t is nothing but v and upon r. So angular speed omega equals to v upon r, or v is equal to r omega. These are the expression for this basic period, speed, and angular speed. radius vector and all. Okay. Now let us see what is expression for centripetal acceleration. You have already studied in your lower class, that is in 11th standard, what is centripetal acceleration. Centripetal acceleration is nothing but the acceleration in circular motion which is directed towards the center from the particle, from the object. And that expression is A bar equals to minus omega square R bar. This minus sign denotes that it is directed towards the center. And the force arising is F bar is equal to MA bar, and that is equal to minus M omega square R bar. This is the expression in terms of angular speed, or a this force is called centripetal force, and its magnitude is M omega square R, or mv square upon R, or M omega v. Now let us see what is inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. Now, if you are, say for example, standing on a bus stand and the bus is moving. So if you consider yourself as stationary, so with respect to you, the bus is moving forward. Okay. And if this bus is moving with a constant velocity and you are standing, okay, you are stationary and you are considering yourself as at origin. So this frame of reference created by you, that is called as inertial frame of reference. In inertial frame of reference, the body travels with a constant velocity, and Newton's laws of motion are applicable in inertial frame of reference. Okay. Now let us see what is non-inertial frame of reference. Now the person in the bus, okay, the bus is starting, but the bus is moving. Initially the bus was stationary, that is its velocity is 0, and after that the bus starts moving. And say this bus moving with a speed of from 0 to 60 km per hour. So this is an accelerated motion. So the person who is sitting in the bus, if he considers himself as an origin, but his reference, that frame of reference is in accelerated motion, because the bus is moving from 0 km per hour to 60 km per hour. It's taking that speed. So in order to take this speed, the bus need to have acceleration. So this frame of reference, the person who is sitting in the bus, for him, the frame of reference is accelerated frame of reference. Okay, and he is in accelerated motion. So that frame of reference is called as non-inertial frame of reference. So hope that the difference between inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference is clear. In inertial frame of reference, the body is moving with a constant velocity, and in non-inertial frame of reference, the body is moving in accelerated motion. Now what is real force and pseudo force? First we'll see what is real force and pseudo force, and then we'll see what is centripetal acceleration and centripetal force and centrifugal force. Okay, before that we'll see real force. Now wherever you are applying a force, so that body moves in the direction of force. So that's a real force. That's the example of real force. This is the basic example of real force. But what is pseudo force? Now see, in this case, the car is moving forward. That's the real acceleration and real force. But the person, this lady who is sitting in the car, if this car suddenly starts moving, so instead of experiencing a forward move, she experiences a backward push. Actually, she should experience forward push because the car is moving forward. That doesn't happen. This lady will experience a backward push. So this backward push is a pseudo force, and it is a imaginary force. So this force that is called as pseudo force, and such frame of reference is non-inertial frame of reference. Another example is of elevator or lift. Okay, here when the lift is moving upward, you feel heavier when the lift is moving. And if you keep a weighing machine, okay, in the lift, and if you're standing on that weighing machine, you will literally see that your weight is increasing as the lift is moving upward. So here your weight is not increasing, but because the lift is moving upward and your weight is acting downward, so you feel heavier. So whatever you are feeling heavier, that is nothing but a pseudo force, that is imaginary force. Now let us see after that what is centripetal force. Okay, centripetal force is a force required for circular motion, and it is always directed. See the letter arrowhead. It is always directed towards the center of the circle. So this is the force which acts on a body performing circular motion and act along the radius of circular path and directed towards the center of the path is called centripetal force. And without centripetal force, circular motion is not possible. Example of centripetal force is that electron revolving around nucleus. Electrons are negatively charged particle and there are positively charged particle in nucleus, that is proton. So in between this, there is electrostatic force. This electrostatic force is nothing but centripetal force. And the electrons are moving along the circular part, that is in the orbit around the nucleus. Okay. So this is one of the example of centripetal force. Now let us see what is centrifugal force. Centrifugal force is a pseudo force. As discussed earlier, what is pseudo force? So centrifugal force is a pseudo force which acts on a particle performing circular motion in direction away from the center. See the arrowhead. It's directed away from the center of the circle and directed towards the particle. In previous case, in centripetal force, it is directed towards the center. Centripetal force is directed towards the center, but centrifugal force is directed away from the center towards the particle. That's the difference. And its magnitude is same as the magnitude of centripetal force. So the magnitude of centripetal force and centrifugal force is same, but the directions are different. Example of centrifugal force is if you are sitting in a car and car is moving along a circular path and say the car is taking left turn, okay, if the car is taking left turn with a certain speed and you feel a push toward right side, okay, actually the car is moving towards left side, but you are feeling the push towards right side. So this push is nothing but centrifugal force. So this is the example of centrifugal force. So hope what is centripetal force and what is centrifugal force, that is clear to you. Now let us see difference between centripetal force and centrifugal force. As discussed, centripetal force is a real force and centrifugal force is a pseudo force. Centripetal force acts on a body performing circular motion and is acting along the radius towards the center, whereas centrifugal force acts on a particle directed away from the center along the radius of circular path. Next, centripetal force arises in inertial frame of reference and centrifugal force is experienced in non-inertial frame of reference. Okay. The another difference is, it is discussed already, but I'll again repeat. It is centripetal force is directed towards the center of the circular path and centrifugal force is directed away from the center of the circular. It's directed away from the center towards the particle. Here, next, without centrifugal force, circular motion is not possible. And without centripetal force, circular motion is not possible. And centrifugal force doesn't have independent existence. You will not find only centrifugal force. There should be centripetal force should be there, and then only centrifugal force will arise. Example, again, we already discussed one example of electron moving around the nucleus, but here we'll discuss another example, that is moon or any satellite revolving around Earth, or Earth is moving around sun, Earth is revolving around sun. Okay, the necessary centripetal force here is gravitational force. And the example of centrifugal force is same. If you are sitting in a car and if the car is taking left turn, you experience a force towards right side. So this force is a centrifugal force, that is outward force. Okay. So these are some of the basic distinguish between centripetal force and centrifugal force. The next which is expected from you is concept of center of mass. Now here we are considering these 5 different stones of mass M1, M2, M3, M4 and M5. We will consider this all the 5 stone as one system of a body. So here in this case, if you consider all these 5 stones as one particular body, okay, so in this case, there is a point inside this body. There is a point inside this body where whole mass is supposed to be concentrated. And what are the forces are applied? If we apply the force on that particular point, this body will start moving. Okay. Now let us, that's the basic concept of center of mass. Now how to find the center of mass? Position vector of center of mass. Now let this O be the origin. This is y-axis and this is x-axis. O is the origin. From here, we'll draw one vector, that is say position vector of M1, and it is say R1. Similarly for M2, it is R2, M3, it is R3, M4, R4, and M5, R5. Okay. So these are the position vectors for this particles. We'll consider this as the particles. So the resultant of, that is position vector of center of mass, say it is R cap or R bar, that is equal to M1 R1 plus M2 R2 plus M3 R3, M4 R4 plus M5 R5 upon sum of all the masses. So this expression gives the position vector of center of mass. Okay. So hope the concept of center of mass is clear to you all. Now the last is kinematic equation. You have already studied in your lower class V is equal to U plus AT, where U is initial velocity, V is final velocity, A is acceleration, and T is the time required to achieve that velocity with acceleration A. Similarly, V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. Here, one more term is, new term is that is S, that is nothing but displacement. And the third expression of kinematic equation is S is equal to UT plus half AT square, where again S is displacement, U is initial velocity, T is time, A is acceleration, and again T is time. So these are the basic equation for kinematic equation. So similarly, we'll write the equation for circular motion also. Okay, that we'll see when we'll start the chapter. So with this, we finished the basics of 11th standard. Hope it is clear to you all. And if you have some difficulties, or if you have some question based on this, or if you have if you want to ask me some numericals, based on the topic what is done in this video, you can ask those questions in the comment section. And better you subscribe our channel, and also press the bell icon, because now we are going to continuously load next topics of physics, and so that you should get the message that the new video is uploaded. Okay, so with this we finish this chapter. Thank you very much for watching.